Chair, and thank you to all of you for coming to such an important hearing this afternoon. I mentioned earlier, I believe one of the most beautiful districts in this country, the southernmost district in Florida. It includes Monroe County, the Florida Keys, and we are ground zero for the effects of climate change. Along the Florida Keys, as you probably already know, Ms. Scarlett, I did some work with Coral Restoration Foundation as well as some work with Nature Conservancy at the time. And it's the only living coral reef in the entire United States. It's the third largest coral reefs in the entire planet. It's a very delicate ecosystem. And I had the opportunity to see firsthand the effects of climate change on our corals. We are right now plagued by not only the ocean acidification, which is impacting the corals by causing mass bleaching, but now we have seen a bacterial infection that is now going all the way down to Luki, which is a very delicate and lush coral reef. If you've ever been down there, you'll know exactly what I mean. But we're extremely concerned because it seems that we don't have the answers as to why this is happening. I want to ask you, Ms. Scarlett, maybe also you can comment, Mr. Sam Weber, but what is it that we can do to protect our coral reefs, since they are part of such an important, not just for our way of life, but also for our commercial industries, for our economy in Florida? What can we do in Congress to protect the reefs and to get to the bottom of what is causing this bacterial infection that is killing about 50% of the corals that are being infected by this bacteria?
Thank you very much. I had the opportunity to be in the Keys just last week. It was lovely. So a couple of things. First, obviously we need more science to the degree that we don't wholly understand what is going on with any particular reef. So we know acidification is occurring. We know there's runoff, nutrient runoff from on-land activities. We know those adversely affect reefs. But to find the particular causes in particular reefs requires more science. But in terms of additionally what we can do, we are very active in a global mangrove alliance, and mangrove restoration plays a very significant role in sort of minimizing coastal erosion, enhancing coastal health in general. We are also very actively involved in coral reef restoration. A lot of people don't realize that there are tools and ways to actually restore reefs, and we are doing that in a number of places actually around the world, not simply on the U.S. coast. And then finally, reducing those other stressors. There's climate change and the effects on a warming ocean, ocean acidification. But to the degree that that's amplified by nutrient runoff and other factors, it simply puts those corals under more and more stress. So thinking about it in a systems way is part of the solution, coupled with the science.
Thank you. And you did mention mangroves, and my only concern with using mangroves as natural infrastructure to prevent that runoff and protect our coastal communities is that we saw the destruction of the mangroves just last year with Hurricane Irma, and it takes years for these mangroves to regrow. So what can we do using not only mangroves but maybe other types of natural infrastructure to protect our coastal communities?
I think it's, so thank you for that. Natural systems can't do everything everywhere under every circumstance. Certainly we've found that mangroves and mangrove restoration are an extraordinarily important tool, but when you have extremely high intensity storms, you are going to get some destruction, and it does take a long time to restore them. And so that is why we are also doing things like coral reef restoration. We find that coral reefs themselves, if you restore them, attenuate waves, reduce erosion, reduce risks to communities. So it's a really multi-pronged approach, and it has to be tailored to place.
And if I may, Madam Chair, one more question, since I am the last. You mentioned also, the runoff, and as you know, we have the comprehensive Everglades restoration project that we've been trying to complete for the past 18 years. So what is the importance of this type of project to the future resiliency of our community?
I cannot stress how important Everglades restoration is, and how congressional support for it and funding for it is essential. Everglades restoration does a number of things, but one, as you get the waters flowing across the rivers of grass, it actually pushes fresh water out and prevents saltwater intrusion, an incredibly important issue for Florida. So that's one. Secondly, of course, Everglades restoration, part of the process of having stormwater management areas is to actually reduce the runoff from agricultural sector that then finds its way out to the ocean. So
Ms. Scarlett, would you
very
mind-
important.
Very important, thank you.
Would you mind responding in writing to the lady?
I would be happy to do that.
Thank you.
I spent 8 years at the Department of the Interior and hundreds of hours on that topic.
Well, I thank everybody for being here, the witnesses for testimony. Sorry it was such a long meeting.